Welcome to the Drum Shuffle, a podcast offering insights, perspectives, and conversations for drummers. I'm your host, Jamie Eads. Hey, how's it going out there, everybody? Welcome to the Drum Shuffle. Jamie Eads joining you as always. This is episode 83. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving last week, and everything's going well for you. I really do hope that for you. I'm about to be joined by the great Brendan Buckley for a second time. Brendan was our guest back on episode 31, I believe. And we got to catch up with Brendan while he was on a brief tour stop in Taiwan. He was on his way to China to do some shows. So he'll be joining me right after this break from our sponsor, Los Cabos Drumsticks. The best kept secret for drummers is finally out. Los Cabos Drumsticks may look like the sticks you grew up with, but these are not your father's drumsticks. Los Cabos Drumsticks is Canada's #1 drumstick brand, and they are coming to a retailer near you. With operations in over 28 countries worldwide, thousands of drummers have already discovered the Los Cabos difference. Using FSC certified wood from Canada and the US, Los Cabos make the finest quality drumsticks, percussion tools, and accessories on the market. The best news, Los Cabos Drumsticks offers you a ton of choice. They have 22 individual drumstick models and 14 percussion tools, many of which are available in 3 different wood types: maple, white hickory, and red hickory. Red hickory comes from the center or heart of the hickory tree and has been independently proven to be both stronger and more elastic than white hickory without adding a lot of weight. While most drumstick manufacturers have shunned red hickory, Los Cabos Drumsticks has embraced it, becoming the only established stick brand in the world to offer a full line of red hickory drumsticks. To learn more about Los Cabos Drumsticks, visit them online at loscabosdrumsticks.com, follow them on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and don't forget to ask for Los Cabos Drumsticks at your favorite retailer. Dare to be different. Join the Red Hickory Revolution with Los Cabos Drumsticks. All right, guys and girls, as I mentioned, we're about to be joined by Brendan Buckley. Brendan was our guest. It's been about a year and a half ago, I'll say. Back on episode 31, we visited with Brendan. He was on tour with Shakira at that point, on a world tour. Since we last talked to Brendan, he did a tour with Perry Farrell. He's been in Asia touring with some Asian pop stars. Just super busy and such a great guy. And I'm very proud to say that Brendan and I have stayed in touch since he visited us last, and wanted to get him back on just to catch everybody up. And we had a really cool conversation, even though he was halfway around the world. So we thank him for taking time out of his schedule to do that. So please help me welcome back to the Drum Shuffle, Brendan Buckley. Hey, Brendan, how's it going, brother?
It's all right. All right, how you doing?
Man, I cannot complain at all. Hey, thanks so much for doing this. I want to get this out of the way first. Brendan and I are connecting, and we are about 14 hours apart. Brendan is on a much-deserved day off in Taipei, Taiwan, and I am sitting at home in Kentucky doing the show. So it is, Sunday evening for me, but Monday morning for Brendan. So cool of you to do this, man. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure. We had to take advantage of the fact that I had a day off today. So we had to do the math and the hours to figure out what would be suitable for both of us. But we did it. Yeah, we did it, and it's happening.
We did. Drummers doing math. Go figure. So the last time we caught up with you, you were in the middle of a world tour with Shakira. And, I get asked all the time. I'll get emails from listeners and they're like, hey, do you keep up with all these guys and girls that you have on the show? And I say, well, it depends. Some of them, yes, some of them, no. And, you and I have stayed in touch in the, 16, 17 months since you were on the show last. But tell us what you've been up to, because you've done some really cool gigs since you wrapped up with Shakira last year.
Yeah, let's see. So yeah, that was the middle of that tour, that Shakira 2018 El Dorado tour, which she just released a live DVD movie of that last week, actually. So I haven't seen it yet, but I hope to maybe get a copy of it. Check it out. And then what did I do after that? I think I have a really good relationship with a couple Asian pop singers that I work with. And I think I hopped right onto a tour with a singer named Jeff Chang. And let's see. And then what else did I do after that? And then I joined Perry Farrell's new band, which he just released a solo record called Kind Heaven. And Perry Farrell, I'm sure everyone knows, but the singer for Jane's Addiction and Corner for Pyros. So he released a new album last June. So we started rehearsing in May, and we did June through September, I think it was, a tour of Europe and the U.S., which is so fun. And great band, great people involved. And then taking a little break from that, we're going to start again next March, I believe, with a South American leg. And I'm really looking forward to that. And let's see. Right now I'm back in Asia, because I'm back with the Jeff Chang tour, doing several shows in China, but I have a couple of days off right now in Taipei, just chilling out. And what else? Just kind of bouncing around. I like to fill my schedule up with anything I can, and I mean, doing one-offs here or there, recordings and things like that. What else? What am I leaving out?
Well, yeah. I mean, you are leaving out quite a bit. I mean, you're one of the busiest guys that I know. I mean, it's literally, you go months without a day off. So if you don't mind, I want to delve into something. I, certainly want to talk about Perry Farrell, because, that's just, he's an icon in the business, and landing that gig is pretty cool. But, how hard is it when you are, kind of going from gig to gig and you don't have any time off? How do you deal with that, especially with, your family back home, in California? How do you deal with it?
It takes a lot of organization and forethought, I guess. I have to start planning for things way in advance. Like if someone asks me, hey, can you do this one-off in Las Vegas 6 weeks from now? I'm like, sure, I have that day available. Like, what day do I need to leave? What day do I come home? Are there any rehearsals? And I also say, get me the songs as soon as possible, because I probably won't have time to learn the songs that week. So if you can get them to me like 4 weeks in advance, then I can learn them and kind of get that thing out of the way. So it's a lot of planning. I don't like to leave things to the last minute, because that's when it gets really hectic. I'd rather deal with the songs, the travel, the gear, everything involved with that. And, if I can't 3 or 4 weeks out, it makes it a lot easier. So if I'm if I'm doing that with 8 different gigs, I have to do all of that with different managers or MDs or producers. I say, okay, please send me the set list as soon as you can, so I can start working on that. On this flight, I have this 8-hour flight. I'm going to learn all the songs on that flight, or exploring away what gear is going to be available, and the travel and everything. So that's the biggest thing. And then, like you said, I live in LA. I have a family in LA, so I'm always trying to also plan everything with them, making sure that when I get home, I have as much time as possible to spend with them, and I'm not doing things like learning songs, practicing, and organizing and checking emails all day long when I'm supposed to be doing family time. So I try to do all that when I'm traveling on the road or, in between sound checks and shows. So don't have to do that when I'm at home. So when I'm at home, I can take my kid to school and, do things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, so I guess that leads to the next question. You do stay so busy, presumably when somebody like Perry Farrell calls up, you are probably thinking, if you do have some one-offs or some recording sessions in there, I'm not saying you would ever leave anybody high and dry, because I know you're, the consummate professional about that, but I'm assuming you go into a mode of, okay, let me clear the schedule. It's Perry Farrell. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, well, that is a great question. And that's something that freelance artists have to cope with constantly. And, not just me, anyone who's successful and busy in this industry, or if they're an actor or whatever, I'm sure they have to deal with the same thing. It's like, everything overlaps. And then you have to deal with that scheduling conflicts or everything, and how do you deal with that? So, if one artist decided to hire me for 365 days a year, that'd be great. But that's not really how it works. A dozen artists all hire me for, 5 weeks a year. So I have to somehow manage to squeeze all that in and make it line up where it seems like a regular job. So I try to have different rules and etiquette in place so I know how to handle it. For instance, usually the first thing I do is I get with the rule that the first person that confirms me is the one that has me for those dates. And I try to stick with that, 9 times out of 10. Well, this guy called first. I said, yes, I'm going to do that for sure. And then the other people that call me, I'll graciously bow out and say, I can't do it, but can I help you find someone else for that gig? Let me get my best friend or someone else to do it. So it's still in the family, I say, you know what, I can't do it, but one of my best buddies, he's available and he'll slay the gig. And then I feel like it's kind of still in the same clique.
Yeah.
And then other times there are certain artists that want a little more loyalty out of you than others. And Shakira and Perry might be 2 of those artists. And therefore I will try to bend some things around to make sure that I'm available for them. It doesn't always work. And some things are last minute and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm out of the country and I can't be there. And they're understanding. But there's no right or wrong answer. Like you said, you don't leave anyone high and dry. That's bad etiquette, and that'll come back to haunt you. So don't screw anyone over. Sometimes if someone calls you way in advance, 3 months in advance, you say something like, I actually think I'm available. I'm going to pencil it in, and let's touch base as the dates approach. And that's leaving it nice and open where you're like, I would really love to do it, but if something really big comes up that I can't turn down, I'll find someone else to do the gig that's as good as me or better, and you'll be happy anyway, So that's kind of the way I do it. Is like full service drumming where either I'll be there or someone equally good or better will be there in my place, and I won't leave you hanging. And that's usually what keeps artists and managers very comfortable with calling me, because they know either I'll be there or the job will be covered, and that works.
Yeah, well, I was about to ask, why haven't you thrown my name out? But then you said it would have to be somebody as good, if not better. So now I understand why you're not throwing me any gigs, Brendan.
No. If you lived in LA, then you move to my neighborhood, we'll be in the same group.
No, it's I always have to have some self-deprecating humor whenever I can. So
Likewise.
The last time we talked, we kind of got your background, and we talked about you growing up in Jersey and taking lessons from the great Tommy Igoe and all those things. But we also talked about some of your early influences. And if my memory serves me correctly, Jane's Addiction was in your list. So talk to me about how the Perry Farrell gig came along, and then, tell me what it's like playing in Perry's band with you having, been a Jane's Addiction fan when you were a younger guy.
Yeah, that's it. You hit the nail on the head. Like, that was one of my favorite bands in when did I get Nothing Shocking? I got it when it came out. I saw the video on 120 Minutes, which was a show that MTV had on Sunday nights at midnight, and they played alternative videos, so you can see things like that. So I remember seeing Mountain Song on TV and saying this is the best thing I've ever seen on TV. So good. And then was a fan of that, a fan of their album, the live Triple X album, and then Ritual de la Habitual. Saw them multiple times when I was in high school. Went to the first Lollapalooza when I was in Jersey, where they headlined, and had Living Color and Henry Rollins and who else was on that one? Susie and the Banshees, and I can't remember how many other artists though. It's great bill. And and I realized, that was a seminal band for me. Just like, they were alternative, they were rocking, they were tribal, everything. And then, that gig came around because I know several people that are already in the band. The bassist Chris Chaney, the keyboardist Matt Rohde, the guitarist Nick Mayberry, and Perry's solo band. These are also guys who are in Jane's Addiction sometimes too, but they're also in the solo band. So I guess he released a new record, and I got a call saying Perry's looking for a drummer to do solo shows, and your name came up. Would you come in and do a little 4 or 5 song jam to see if it gels? So I went in along with a couple other fantastic LA drummers, and we all just did our own version of his new music, and somehow he chose me, and it is a trip. It is a trip because I played with many very famous artists, singers, and everything, and but I can't remember a time where I played with someone where I grew up listening to their music. Like, this is the first time where he turns around and says, "Hey, let's do Stop," or "Let's do Jane Says," and I'm like, of course. I grew up listening to those songs. Most of the time I'm working for someone in South America or Asia or somewhere where they're very famous, but I didn't grow up listening to their albums. This is kind of the first time where I feel like I'm like a fanboy also of both Perry and the catalog and Stephen Perkins and everything. So it was a big deal for me. He wound up being just nicer than I could imagine, and the whole band is super cool, and it's a blast. I mean, we learned all of his new stuff. Basically, that was the big chunk. But then for the set list, he wanted to add, we kind of threw in, we had about maybe 8 Jane's Addiction songs that we'd rotate through the set list, and maybe 3 Pono Papyro songs, and maybe about a handful of 5 or 6 covers. So we do a little mix of everything, and it's fantastic. And as much as I want to play the songs note for note exactly like Stephen Perkins, Perry actually doesn't want me to do that. He's like, just do a different version. You don't have to do like an alternate version, like totally weird, but just don't feel like you have to stay to that, because if I wanted that, I would just go out and with Jane's Addiction. I want it to be slightly different. And so he would turn around and often suggest things like, just shout out different styles, and he likes to break it down real quietly and, go into, swing everything, and, yeah, you always have these suggestions, so I feel like I don't have to actually play it like I'm in a cover band, although I probably would, because I just love the drum parts. So he said, no, feel free to do anything else, and, I'd appreciate that. So, and what was funny was I wound up hanging out with Stephen Perkins all last week, as I went to this PASIC convention, and we were on the same flight there, the same flight back, and he's just also the nicest, most positive dude, and zero attitude, zero ego, and I feel like it's a nice family to be part of, Yeah,
for sure, man. Well, and congrats to you. I mean, it would be, the only thing that I could compare it to, it would be like if, I don't know, if I got asked to play with Aerosmith or something like that. You know what I mean? It's just,
It's exactly like that. Yeah.
Just kudos to you, brother. I mean, when you started putting some stuff on social media about it, I was just like, oh yes, man, this is so awesome. This is great. So I know it's got to be a lot of fun, and you're looking forward to, I think you mentioned some South America dates, in 2020 with Perry. Is that right?
Yeah. We're going, not only are we going to do some, we do some Lollapalooza festival shows, which are a blast, but then we also want to, in between, do club shows. So we do like a festival one night, we do a rock club the next night, and it makes it really fun and, bouncing back and forth and, it keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, that's awesome. Now, you mentioned PASIC, and, I think everybody is aware of Percussive Arts Society, but PASIC is the Percussive Arts Society International Convention, and it's held every year in Indianapolis, which is just right up the road from me. And I skipped out this year because Lisa and I were celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary. Our anniversary was this past week. So I was not going to leave during
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was not going to leave during the week of our 20th wedding anniversary, but we had so many...
That's probably why you've been married 20 years.
Exactly. And because I'm not in Taiwan right now, the week of Thanksgiving and all those things... So, but anyway, we had so many past guests of the show that actually, presented there and did a clinic at PASIC. You were there. Keo Stroud was there. Scott Pellegrim was there. I'm sure I'm missing, a ton of folks, but it really is just this huge convention where percussionists and drummers can get together and just learn for like 3 or 4 days. So talk to me a little bit about that experience for you.
Yeah, it was, well, not to sound cliche, but it was a total honor actually just to be invited and be part of it. It was a fantastic convention. It's so well run. I admit that I had never gone before. And it's not for lack of trying. I've been trying for years and years to go, but every November something would come up like I have to postpone for the next year, Not to even to perform, just to attend. I've been trying to even attend it for years, and it comes up every year. But, even last year I was booked to do it, and I had to bail in the 11th hour because of the gig with Shakira, and I felt so bad, and I'm like, oh guys, I'm sorry. You must hate me. Nope. This happens actually all the time. We'll call you next year. I'm like, thank you. I told them, I promise you, no matter what happens, next year I'll be there. I will block out the whole month. So I made it happen this last week, and it was so fun. I got to do a clinic, an hour-long clinic for a large room of people, all drummers, students, educators, peers, and then, like you said, it's a 4-day event, I think, and it has classical percussion, marching percussion, drum set, Latin percussion, clinics, and performances all day long in multiple ballrooms in the convention and a convention center. And I just run into lots of people and lots of events at night, performances and hangs and dinners and jam sessions. So for a drummer, it's like nerd heaven. You get to see people and chat with people and hang out and learn. For me, personally, it was a lot of fun because I do a fair share of drum clinics, but I have to admit I took this one pretty seriously. Because I knew, not that I was nervous or I was insecure about how many other great people were going to be there, but I just imagined that the audience was going to be just overwhelmed with so many good things to see and so much information that I wanted to hit them with something very simple and logical that they could take home and work on right away. So, I kind of came up with a lesson plan that I could teach in 1 hour, and it went really well. Everyone seemed to respond, and I got a lot of great feedback from everyone involved. And then I got to see, Antonio Sanchez was right after me, Stephen Perkins was right before me, Dave Illich was the day before me, and Ash Stone was before me, and I missed Scott Pilgrim's, but I heard his was really great. A guy named Dave DeCenso did it, and people were raving about his clinic. Stanton Moore was after me, and he killed it. Daphne Sprieta was there, he killed it. Who else was there the weekend I did it? Jason McGarrett was there just hanging out. He's awesome, and he loves drums, so there's a lot of people that are just hanging out, drummers, just, there for the hang or for the learning of it all. And, I hope to not only do it again some year, but attend more often, and also to take what I learned, because much like performing shows or doing recordings, I think teaching seminars or clinics or master classes is also something that you can get much better at with experience, with 10,000 hours. So every time I do it, I think, oh, that was great. Got to learn from that and do a better one next time. So I feel pretty good. I'm already playing another clinic, I guess, in December in Shanghai. So I hope to do an even better version of that next month.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, I think it goes without saying that, and I think you and I even talked about this before, it's like every time I go see another drummer, whether it's in, a cover band in a bar or a clinic or a master class or whatever, I pick up some little piece, some little nugget of knowledge, and I integrate that into my own playing. So when you get to a place like the PASIC convention, hopefully you're just like a sponge and you're taking all kinds of ideas. And it's, I've tried to explain to people, when you go to these big events like that, you get re-excited about practicing. Do you feel that same way after you've been to something like that? Are you like a kid again when you sit down behind the kit?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I don't know if everyone's like that. In fact, I know not everyone is like that. Some people have a very closed mentality where they're like, that's not my thing, or I don't dig that, or this guy isn't as good as I've heard, or whatever. And other people have an open, absorbing attitude about drumming. Like, I can learn from everything and everyone and every experience and every instance. And I feel that way. Every time I see anybody, whether I might have a completely different style than that person, but I still learn something from that person. I'm like, wow, that's interesting how he subdivides, or interesting how he sits, or that's an interesting tone he gets out of that drum, or whatever. You can learn something from everyone. And, you don't have to be a carbon copy of anybody, but you can take 1% from this person, 1% from that person, and then just add it to what you're doing and just constantly grow. And I feel like, that's always been the way I felt. I would see a drummer that just floors me, and I don't leave the room saying, oh, I'm terrible, I'll never be that good, I should quit. I usually leave saying, wow, I want to practice. I want to get 10% of what he's doing.
Yeah.
If I can get 5% of what's going on there, I'll be a better drummer.
Yeah.
So I try to throw myself in those scenarios where I'm going to be inspired and I'm not too hard on myself that I don't play like every other legend out there. If I could just be myself, but just keep on improving, then I'm still doing a good job at the drums, I think.
Yeah. And, there's been a lot of discussion, especially on this show with other drummers. I've had Marco Miniman on the show. I've had the great Bill Stewart on the show. There are some guys that are just freaks of nature that none of us are ever going to be that. You know what I'm saying? We're
I do know what you're saying.
But you can still look at those guys and go, man, maybe if I could just steal this one little fill, or, something, the way he, I don't know, the way he hits the bell of his ride cymbal, any little nugget of information. is pushing you further in your playing, you know. And I think there's far too many young drummers that just get onto Instagram or YouTube or whatever, and they only watch the shredders. You know what I mean? The guys, you know, the circus act, I guess you would say. And it can be very discouraging because you go, well, I'll never be able to play this at, you know, 240 beats a minute or whatever the case may be. But it's not about that. You know, you have to be yourself as a player, but still we all steal ideas from other people. You know, I mean, I can't begin to tell you how much stuff, you know, I've stolen from watching you play, you know, just the way you play a feel in a certain groove. It's like, wow, I never thought about changing the feel of that groove that way. I think that's what's so cool about drumming.
Yeah, I mean, you said a couple of things in there that I agree with, and one of them is, well, I don't know, I've already forgotten a couple of them, but yeah, I agree that comparison is a dangerous thing. When you start to look at other drummers and compare yourself to them, it's hardly ever going to end well. You're usually going to make yourself feel terrible, but you have to do it. We're always doing it. We're always saying, like, where am I compared to him? Where am I compared to that guy or that girl or whatever? He's younger, he's faster, he's got better gigs than me. Where am I? You know, it's usually not going to end well. So you have to do kind of like a mental shift to say, I'm on my own journey. You know, as silly as that sounds, I am on my own journey. It's my own little path in music. It's my own path in drumming. I'm not taking the same path he is or she is or whatever. And you have to constantly repeat that to yourself, that it's my own journey, and I'm just trying to get myself better every day, and better version of myself. I mean, I think beginner drummers deal with that, and you'd be surprised to know advanced drummers deal with that too, because now I'm in a society where I'm hanging out with the best drummers on the planet, and we're all friends. And I have a hard time not just giving them the I am not worthy attitude all the time. And they don't want that. And everyone realizes at a certain point that we're all, you know, dealing with our own progress, dealing with our own demons and our own insecurities and everything. You'd be surprised. No matter how proficient a drummer is, deep down inside, he probably thinks he doesn't do something well, or he wishes he did something else better, or he admires someone else for something. And it's endless. If you take on a craft like drumming, you're basically taking on that whole that whole game of how am I going to get better at this? How am I going to master this? And it's endless. It really is. And then you were talking about watching chops videos, and I love them as much as anyone loves doing that. But that is only one element of drumming, and that is the skill-based, how can I zip around the drums in an impressive way kind of drumming. And it is exciting. It is exciting to see people pushing that envelope, like linear drumming, hand-foot stuff, and speed, and whatever, and sonics. But the other side of it is making music, and they're two different things. So you can admire a drummer because he can zip around the drums, and that's really cool. Or you can admire a drummer because he has a sick resume with the best artists out there, and he's recorded hundreds of records, and he plays with the top artists, and he's super in demand. And this person might or might not zip around the drums at all, but they just have a great feel, great pocket, great attitude, great tone, and they're super hireable. And you see this all over the place. And maybe a less experienced drummer might say, like, why is that guy so in demand? I don't see it. He doesn't do YouTube videos. He doesn't zip around the drums. But an artist or a producer or something does see something very special in that drummer. This guy has a sick feel, sick time, amazing tone. He understands music and arrangements, and I want him for every album I record or every tour I do. So you can kind of shoot for one or the other, maybe both. There are very few drummers that do both, and I wish I could do both. But some people, they pursue the drumistic side of drumming, and that's super cool if that's what you want to do. And then other people pursue the music making side of drumming, and that's a different thing. And I'm a nerd enough about the drums. I'm nerd enough about the drums that I like both. I appreciate the Jay Belroses and the Jimmy Keltners and those guys, and I appreciate the guys who are just, blisteringly awesome on the kit also. And I feel like I learn from both. I will watch, dozens of Brian Blade videos just to try to figure out what's going on with his feel and dynamics and his interaction. And then I'll watch some guy I've never heard of doing some crazy hand-foot stuff. And I'm like, that's pretty cool too. I've never phrased that 6-note grouping in that order. That's pretty cool. And
yeah.
I don't know. That's just because I'm crazy about drums.
Well, I mean, I think we all are, but you took a couple of perfect examples right out of my mouth, and Jay Belrose and Jim Keltner. I had the wonderful opportunity when Jay was doing the Raising Sand tour with Robert Plant and Alison Krauss. A really good friend of mine was Jay's drum tech on that tour, and I had the opportunity to go to one of the shows and hang out backstage with them. And Jay Belrose played that entire tour without a hi-hat. He was like, why would I bring a hi-hat around with me? We have a mandolin in the band. That's all the high end. Why would I do that?
Yep.
And I was just like, man, there's no way I would ever play a gig without a hi-hat. It's just that song approach, something that would have never occurred to me as a drummer. Right. And just amazing nonetheless. But Jay would be the first guy to tell you, I can't play like Thomas Lang. I never will.
Mm-hmm. He's very confident in his approach. Yeah. He's very confident in, that I'm going to be a different drummer, and whether you like it or not. And he has his own tones and constantly searching, but his own tones, his own approach to coming up with drum parts. They're very soulful. They're very minimalistic. And he's a brilliant drummer. And then you might go see him play some Monday night gig in LA and be like, that's him. That's it. But you have to get into the subtleties of it. And it's masterful, actually.
Yes.
And quite influential. But to someone who's used to seeing nothing but 64th notes, they might not get it at first. And I don't know. I mean, it's like I was saying, there's nothing wrong with either side of music. You just can't confuse the two. You can't compare the two. One is pushing the limits of what you can do around the drum set, and another one is, pushing the limits of making music. How can you make music with other people, and how can you do it deeper and better and more soulful and more original, and make people super comfortable and super happy. And, they're different things, and there are very few drummers I think that have both at the same time, and because there are such different approaches to drumming.
I agree. And that's what's wonderful about our instrument is, there's, all instruments. I mean, I'm not just going to single out us drummers. There are guitarists out there that can do the Eddie Van Halen thing, but, the James Burton thing is completely different, right? It's still, you still got your chops, but it's a different kind of thing. And knowing when to push, knowing when not to push. We talked about your studio experience the last time you were here. And, I would venture to guess that there's probably in the pop sphere, there's nobody right now that's doing it at the level that you are, in the way that you are, if that makes any sense. I know there's plenty of studio guys out there, but when you go in on a session, you get the job done. You know, I mean, I mean, and there's something inherent in that part of your playing. What I mean by that is you go in, you don't argue with the producer, you give the artist what they want, you stay on the click, and you lay down a really nice, soulful drum track for the record. And that is to be envied, I think.
Yeah, well, I would push back and say that hopefully there's a lot of drummers who are doing that, but I want to be one of them. I think I have a lot of friends who I think approach the drums similarly as I do, and I want drums to be original and cool, and I want drummers to dig what I do, but that's not my first priority. My first priority is to get the job done, and the job is usually making the artist and the producer happy, or the musical director, or something like that. So first objective is always, who hired me and what is my job? My job is to record 9 songs for this artist and make the producer and the artist super happy with their music. That's my first objective. And I want to do that. I want to please them and please myself. And then hopefully it's done in a way where my drummer friends also, if they heard that, will go, this sounds really good. But that's like third or fourth on the list. Because I know, my hierarchy of what I'm trying to accomplish. And that goes with live concerts, with everything I do. I have my objectives, and they're set in a certain order. And I don't reverse them, because then I think I might not be being true to myself, or the people in charge, or the people that are relying on me to get the job done.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I guess my point in all of that is, I can guarantee you've never gone into a recording session and said, hey, this song would sound a whole lot better if we played it in 15/16 time.
Yeah, that hasn't come out of my mouth, at least not seriously.
So, I mean, you go in and you do your job, and that's what, I think is so awesome about what it is that we all do. Marco Miniman can go in and say this song would be a lot better in 15/16 time. So I guess I'm not trying to compare anybody. I'm just saying that I agree with you. There's two different ways to approach the job, so to speak.
Though, I mean, people have a misconception about him being only a freakish clinician or something like that. I remember once being at SIR in Hollywood. It's a rehearsal studio with multiple rooms, studio instrument rentals in Hollywood, California. And I was rehearsing with some artist in one room, and in another room, I was listening to like a Police cover band. And I was like, and I'm a huge Police fan, so I'm like, oh, cool, these guys sound good. And I'm just listening to the door, and I'm like, what's going on there? I'm like, these guys sound legit. And then, during one of the breaks, the door opened, and I realized it was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was Sting's son, and he had his own Police cover band, and he was like playing bass and singing in this band, and Marco Miniman was on drums, and he was killing the Stuart Copeland thing. So there you go, like, someone might say, oh, he's like DW guy, who, does all this cool, like, odd time stuff. But I remember looking and saying, dude, that guy is slaying these Police songs.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, well,
shout out to him.
Yeah, for sure. And, I don't know if you're familiar with his band, the Aristocrats, or not, but, he's been doing a lot of songwriting here lately and composing. He is also a wonderful guitar player. He can play keys. I think he's starting to morph away from that, drum shredder a little bit. But it's still, when you watch somebody play that sort of stuff effortlessly, I go, wow, never can I, even attempt that. I would look foolish if I did. So, I'm very envious of guys that have that level of talent.
Yeah, and also I remember, the shredding, unfortunately, shredding is kind of a young man's game. I remember once seeing, I love Terry Bozzio, and I remember seeing him do a drum concert once, and this was this could be almost 20 years ago now. I saw him doing at a Guitar Center with the ostinato thing, solo drumming performance. It was probably an hour and 45 minutes long of just drum ostinato solos. And I remember he did a Q&A at the end, and someone was asking him, I can't remember what the question was, but he said, I used to, be a chops guy, and I was a double bass guy, and now there are guys who play 4 times more intricately and faster than I do. And I'm not going to be the best at that anymore. There's always going to be someone younger and faster than you. So as you go through your career, you have to morph, and you have to become the more musical guy or the more inventive guy, or learn other instruments, or be a composer, or start an original project, or you have to come up with other things other than just being the chops guy.
Yeah.
So that's going to fade, and you're going to lose that throne sooner or later. And you see it in sports all the time. The sports figures who have the longest careers, the sports is a young man's game, and the guys who play into their 30s, or some guys play into their 40s, they change their game. So it's not about speed and power toward the end. It's about knowledge of the field, or knowledge of teamwork, or strategy, or whatever. And I think in a kind of a analogous way, I think drumming happens that way too. You see these guys who, when they're 21, they were just freakishly gifted on the drum. And then by the time they're 40, they become really well-rounded musicians who are producing and doing all sorts of things, because you can only play so fast for so long, and then you have to pursue other avenues of music.
Yeah. Very true. Now, that leads me to my next question for you. And, you can say, nope, I defer on this one. But, I have said a million times, rock and roll, pop, whatever the case may be, is a young man's game. And, there comes a time where you may not get hired because you have gray hair, or you may have picked up a few extra pounds in the middle, or you just don't fit with the image of the 22-year-old artist or the 28-year-old artist, whatever the case may be. How do we, as, sidemen or freelance drummers, how do we combat that? Or can we?
That is mostly true. And why would you want to go see some Nickelodeon artist who and then they look like they have a band of grandpas?
Right.
It wouldn't match. Image-wise, even if they sound good, it wouldn't match. So, if you see some 18-year-old teen beat heartthrob, you want to see a band of similar-looking people, boys and girls or whatever. And I think, but it's not necessarily rock and roll or pop, because, Cher is pop, and her band isn't 18 years old. And John Fogerty is rock, and his band is a bunch of people about his age,
Yeah.
So I think what happens is you kind of have to align yourself with artists that are in your similar age bracket. And some people call those terms like legacy artists or something. But, as you get older, you want to be playing with, like slightly older artists, I guess. I don't work with a lot of people that are 21 years old. Most of the people with whom I work are between 35 and 60. And that's, I think it's partly because that's the musical scene and clique that I'm in, and then there's a whole other generation of, 20-year-olds that are going to get those gigs. And that's actually cool, and it's kind of the way it's supposed to be. If I'm working with nothing but 18-year-olds, I'm kind of actually off kilter in my career. Why am I not working with 45-year-olds? I think it's just the way it is. There are cycles to life, and you can't deny it. No matter how much plastic surgery you get or whatever, vegan diet you're on, there are cycles to life, and you are a child, and then you're a young adult, and then you're a grown adult, and then you're of senior age, and you can try to do that arc gracefully, or you can try to fight it brutally, but it is what it is. And I guess I'm in maybe the third quarter of that now, and I'm trying to do that gracefully by playing with the right artist, the right music. I'm not denying it, and I think it's working. And all of my friends, I'm not the only one who does this. I have like dozens and dozens and dozens of buddies, drummers and bassists and guitarists that are in the same boat. And I think we all do kind of a similar thing. We all work with artists in similar age brackets, and therefore the bands and the everything, the fans, everything are kind of appropriate. And, you know, and it's kind of odd when you do get called that occasional thing to work with this 18-year-old starlet. You're like, wow, I feel like maybe this isn't the right thing. You know, I feel like you should find a 20-year-old drummer. You know, maybe that's a better thing for your group, your music. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And, you know, I was in a situation, you know, a few years back, young country artist, just getting started. He wanted a veteran band to kind of back him up. And, you know, I'm not going to mention any names here or anything like that, but, you know, he started getting a lot of really serious attention, and somebody asked me about my gray hair, and I knew right then it wasn't the right fit for me. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's some guys who are ageless. They could be 60 and they seem to be able to fit into any genre, but that's not most people, you know. And I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it's on a case-to-case basis, but in general, I think it only makes sense that people are in age-appropriate jobs and age-appropriate gigs and things like that.
Yeah, I agree. I just, you know, no gig is so important to me that I'm going to go buy a box of Just for Men hair color or whatever, you know. So, all right.
Well, unless you get the Marilyn Manson gig, then you have to dye your hair black.
Yes, it has to be blue-black, actually. So,
blue-black, yeah.
Yeah. So, shifting gears just a little bit, you know, I know you don't have a ton of time off, but when you are back, you know, stateside, you're in LA, you're not on a tour right now. Are you doing lessons? Are you taking private students at all?
Oh yeah. I'm a big fan of education in general. I'm a huge proponent of music education, and I love the drum community. I love chatting about drums. I like helping people with the drum. And I have a couple students that I teach fairly regularly in LA, but they work also. So sometimes they're gone for 3 months and I'm gone for 2 months. But we get together when we're both available. And then I also teach lessons to people who, because LA is a music hub, people sometimes come in just for a week to do some shows, and I'll get a message on Instagram or my website saying, hey, could I swing by and take a lesson with you? I'm in town for the week. So I teach a lot of one-off lessons too, and which is great because you're getting all different levels of talent. Some guys are already killing it on the touring scene, but they still want to work on something. They want to run by someone else what they're working on or what their problems are, and I feel like we can all learn from someone else who's doing it. And then I don't do a lot of beginner lessons anymore. Like I don't teach a lot of 12-year-old kids who just got a drum set for Christmas. I did that when I lived in Miami. I used to work at a store called Resurrection Drums, and I taught a lot of beginner lessons back then. But nowadays, it's usually guys who are already playing, who are already working, and they need to improve on whatever, their pocket, their studio skills, their knowledge of electronics, their whatever auditioning skills, all things that kind of get you from intermediate to advanced. And but I'll do it via Skype. I'll do it FaceTime. I'll do it in person. I teach sometimes when I'm touring, because if I have a morning off or afternoon off, I don't mind getting together with some other local drummers and doing a lesson or a master class or a drum clinic. Basically, it's pretty obvious that I just want to be playing drums all day in some fashion, and I'm kind of obsessed with this. So I find different ways to do it, but for sure. And, sooner or later, I've been slowly compiling lessons that I would like to put into a book, which I don't know if people even read drum books anymore, but I would love to put out some kind of instructional of some sort, both maybe in a printed version and in a video version. I'm not rushing it though, because, I don't want to do it just for monetary reasons. I would like it to be good and helpful. And so I'm working on that slowly. And yeah, that's it. Anything I could do to help any of the drummers, I'm down for.
Well, man, you got to take some time off to write a book, right? I mean, you you're just so busy all the time. But, that's what I love about you, Brendan, is you're always down to help somebody out. And I really, I want to say thank you on behalf of the drumming community for being so approachable and answering all the questions, and I'll say this right now, if there's anybody out there that wants to incorporate any kind of electronics into their kit and you need some high level help with that, Brendan is your guy. I mean, I watched the video walkthrough of your Shakira tour rig, and man, that was pretty amazing, right? I mean, that was a huge kind of hybrid setup that you were running every single night. It was amazing.
Yeah, that thing, that NASA kit is interesting. I mean, and that only comes with years and years of working with her, and it kind of morphs into that. I would never show up to it like you guys never done before with that much equipment, but it's just because the set list is so long now, and there's so many specific sounds that you have to do to get the arrangements right and make her happy. You have to have a specific clap sound on the bridge and this, and that it just turns into that. But you'll often see me playing like a 3-piece kit also, and I'm just as happy. It's just I try to play appropriate music for each artist, but what you were saying about being approachable, now I'm getting to the point now where a lot of people that hit me up 5 or 8 years ago for a piece of advice or anything, a lesson or something, then I find out they're playing on the Grammys with some artist, and I'm like, holy cow, that was that guy who said, hey, I don't know how to use an SPDS. Can you help me out? I'm like, sure. And next thing I know, they're, doing a gig way cooler than me. And I'm so thrilled that, this is like some kid who was 18 and hit me up, and now he's got an awesome career and he's doing it, or she's doing it. And I feel like, I'm a big proponent of teamwork. I mean, you can look at everyone like you can think that you're on an island and you're doing this all by yourself, but I really believe that we're all in this together in drumming, in music, in society, civilization, and I think therefore, if I want anyone to help me out, or I want anything to go well in my life, I should be equally willing to do that for other people also. So I've always felt like I'm very open to anyone contacting me and asking questions, advice, wanting any kind of form of teaching, or just, even I haven't really said a lot of this online, but even mental health issues, I feel like I don't know how to approach this correctly, but I feel like a lot of people deal with anxiety and depression and things like that. I feel like I want to help people out there too, because I've been there. Everyone I know has gone through this. So, and I don't want to see, young musicians, just do this all on their own and beat themselves up or harm themselves in any way. But that's something I really haven't said online. Like, hey, if you're depressed, write me. That's kind of awkward. And that might send the wrong messages. I might just be like some self-help line. But I feel like I want to help other people out the same way other people help me out. It's not like I'm some, Gandhi over here or something. I'm just trying to give back because so many people were great to me my whole life. And I appreciate that. So, I feel like if I surround myself with amazing people that help me out, I also want to be that for other people.
Yeah, man. Well, you're a world-class dude, Brendan. And, it goes without saying, look, it took us, almost a year and a half to get you back because you're a busy guy. But my platform is your platform. Anytime you've got something going on, you want to come on and just do a hang, and, we can talk about bass drum pedals for an hour. I mean, it's always educational with you. You're always welcome here. I can't think.
I'll talk about bass drum pedals with you right now.
Yeah, I know you would.
Over the weekend, and I did a gig over the weekend, and it was in a city called Ningbo, China. It was with an artist, Jeff Chang, who I mentioned earlier. And I'm like, we're doing the sound check, and it always takes a second to get used to backline gear. I'm using a rental DW kit and rental Sabians, and we're sound checking, and I'm like, everything's going well. We're going through the set list, and I'm like, something feels weird with my feet today. I don't know, maybe I just didn't warm up correctly or whatever. And I'm like, my accuracy feels a little off. And I'm like, maybe the spring tension's weird. I'm adjusting the spring tension and the beater height. And then you start messing with the rotation of the, the gear. Like maybe it's too close or too far. And then I figured it's one of these DW pedals that's like 2 inches longer than normal, XF or something.
Yeah. I
didn't even notice because it looks like a DW 9000, but I measured it. It's like 2 inches longer. I'm like, really? Is that it? And then I noticed that it was a double pedal. The left one was normal. The right one was extra large. And surprisingly, without knowing it, it was totally weirding me out, without looking down. I'm like, something feels really weird to me today. And so fortunately, the backline company sent another one out, the brand new 9000. But there you go. It does make a difference. I probably would have gotten through the gig, no problem with that. But something was sending off an alarm. Like, man, you're just not nailing it today.
You don't know it.
Story for the week.
You don't know it, but you had the new Abe Laboriel Jr. model. It's made for a size 20 right foot. So.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, man. Well, listen, I am going to let you enjoy your day off. And, I try to keep these, evergreen content, but I'm going to break my rule and say, this is Monday before Thanksgiving for you. It's Sunday night before Thanksgiving for me. Happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Keep us posted on everything that's going on. We'd love to have you back again and again. Okay, brother?
Well, thank you. You run a great show, and you have great guests, and you're a super positive dude. And I know you're a family man, too. So happy holidays to you also and everyone else out there.
Man, I appreciate it, Brendan. Real quick before we let you go, give everybody the social media tags, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff, and the website.
You want me to shout it out?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
The website, www.brendanbuckley.com. Brendan Buckley, BrendanBuckley, 14 letters. And Instagram, I believe, is at Brendan Buckley. Facebook, Brendan Buckley. I think my Twitter handle is Brendan Drums, BrendanDrums, because Brendan Buckley was taken when they invented Twitter. And maybe I need to buy it off the guy. I don't know how it works, but it's never been that important to me. So I don't know. I don't have TikTok, but if that's the thing I have to do now, you let me know, guys.
That's awesome. All right, brother. Listen, happy Thanksgiving. Thanks so much for doing this. We'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you. Let's do it again sometime.
All right. See you, man. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap up episode 83 of the Drum Shuffle. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. And as always, we cannot do this show without all of you tuning in and week out. As always, hit the subscribe button on whatever platform you use to listen in. You're not going to want to miss some of the guests that we have coming up. Many thanks to Brendan Buckley for calling in all the way from Taiwan. I am sure his phone bill is not going to like him for talking to us for over an hour from halfway around the world. So we really do appreciate that. Next week, we're going to have another revisit from a past guest on the Drum Shuffle. We're going to be joined next week, once again, by the great Doug Clifford of Creedence Clearwater Revival to do a career retrospective. Creedence Clearwater Revisited has announced their impending retirement, and we got Doug on the show to talk about his legacy and what he's going to be doing once he retires from the drumming world. So you're not going to want to miss that. As always, we answer every single email that we get here at the Drum Shuffle. The Drum Shuffle Podcast at gmail.com is where you can write to us. TheDrumShuffle.com is our web address. And of course, you can find more information on me over at jamieeads.com. Click on those social media links, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can follow us there as well, and we certainly do appreciate it. Everybody have a great week out there. Until next time, may your head stay strong and your sticks never break. Cheers, everybody.